All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, another NBA offseason video. But in this video, we are going to preview the regular season. We're going to go through win projections for the West Coast teams. This is the first West Coast Western Conference video for next season. We're going to go through my predictions for these teams. We're going to go through some roster changes and stuff like that. So if you like what I have to say, like the video. If you have any opinions, comment it down below. And if you just like the vibes, consider subscribing. This video, we will be covering these teams in front of you: the Phoenix Suns, the Golden State Warriors, the Sacramento Kings, the Los Angeles Clippers, and the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm doing this in sort of a division, sort of parts, yeah, parts. So this is going to be part one of three for the West, and then we will have our whole NBA association done, or yeah, NBA association, yeah, National Basketball Association done. So I need to preface this with the West is going to be so interesting. It always is interesting every year, I think, at least at the top. But especially this year, so many moving parts, so many teams have either are going to fall out of contention or going to rise into contention. And this is one of the more, I guess, simplistic parts. Part one is going to be one of the more simplistic ones. There are two teams on here that I don't think are going to be very good. There are three teams here that I think are going to be pretty well manageable, pretty well um, talented enough to make a run, at least get in the play-in. So let's jump into it right now. Um, the first one here, we have the Golden State Warriors, and let's just go through the. We're gonna go through the projected wins. We're gonna go through my first reactions. Then we're gonna look at the rosters, and then I'll tell you what I think altogether. So yeah, the Warriors are projected to win 45 games this season. That is from BetMGM um, Sportsbook. So that's where I get all my projections in every one of my videos, and continuing on in this one and the next two. And I'm gonna say this right off the top, and I wanted to do these teams first because I think these teams are pretty interesting, but partly just so I can get the Warriors out of the way because I'm a Warriors fan. I'm a Steph Curry fan, but by proxy, I'm a Warriors fan. So just want to get my team out of the way so we can get through these other ones without me alluding to the Warriors and being like, "Oh, I have a thought about them." I'm gonna give you all my thoughts right now. My first reaction is the Warriors have one of the weirder off seasons, but it all came together. I also waited to do the West after the East because partly because the Warriors needed to figure out their roster, partly because there were a few more moving parts that needed to come along. There also have been a couple preseason games played for some of these teams. Some of the teams I talked about before, some of the teams I'm going to talk about. So keep that in mind as well. I have seen some of these teams play together with some variation of their new team. Um, so just putting that out there as well. I have seen some of these teams play at least a little bit with some combination of either, you know, one of their core players. We'll put it that way. Um, and the Warriors had a really big last week. Last week was when this roster came all together. Um, adding guys like Al Horford, um, adding guys like Al Horford, adding guys like Seth Curry, Steph Curry's brother Seth. That's Seth, Seth, not Seth. Seth Curry. Um, GP2, Gary Payton the second returning, um, along with some other pieces that they managed to bring in. The biggest thing was Jonathan Kuminga returning on a 2-year deal after what was a like literally like the worst thing that could have happened probably um, during the offseason for the Warriors and trying to negotiate with Jonathan Kuminga and his team. He held out literally to the last minute, like I had speculated in my last video. Whenever I talked about Jonathan Kuminga, I was like, yo, he's gonna hold out to the literal last minute, right before training camp, right before preseason, when they need to get this deal done. Um, he's returning on a 2-year deal with the intent of the Warriors. This is in good faith. I think they hashed this out. Part of the deal. With he signed a 2-year deal with the intent of the Warriors tearing it up at the end of the year so he can become a free agent next year. So this next summer. Um, I don't think this year is going to be any different for Kaminga. Maybe slightly more motivated to be a team player and prove to other teams that he can play within a system. The Warriors' system is very high level. I've said this in multiple videos. Whenever I've talked about the Warriors and their system, it's not for everybody. You really actually need to know how to play basketball and how to move off the ball and how to make certain reads and all these things that a lot of young players don't really learn anymore, and especially Jonathan Kaminga coming from the G League Ignite experiment where they didn't really learn basketball, they just played basketball. So Jonathan Kaminga isn't really the best fit on this team, but I think his skill set and role has maxed out with the Warriors, and I think he does deserve a chance to go somewhere else and prove himself. Um, I think everything being hashed out the way it was, everybody knows what's at stake. Speaking of Jonathan Kaminga's situation by itself, everybody knows what's at stake. Everybody knows that Jonathan's not going to be on this team next year. Does that alter anything from Steve Kerr, who is not a Jonathan Kaminga fan at all? Um, no, I think when the coach doesn't like a player just because of the way they play, that doesn't change unless the player changes, and unless the player can rebuild that connection with the coach. And just 1 year isn't going to fix that. Um, for the rest of the team, I got to see Al Horford play with this team with Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler, all of them together. They all only played in the first half. I think Al Horford was the only one who played up until the third quarter, if I remember correctly. This was a few nights ago, um, and he fits perfectly. It, this has been the sort of rumor. Al Horford was either going to retire or he's going to sign with the Warriors, and there was no in between. And I think he said when he in his introductory press conference, he said retirement was never really considered that heavily. He was just waiting for the Warriors to figure out the Jonathan Kaminga situation so they could sign him, with the appropriate amount of money that he wanted that they had to give out to other players and to give him. So it wasn't really a conversation for Al Horford. I think that was just floated out there as a possibility, like any other excuse me situation out there where it was like, well, this player's interested in this team, this team, this team, this team. Al Horford's situation was he's interested in this team, maybe returning to the Celtics and retirement, and that was where it ended up. He ended up in Golden State. Um, I've been a Al Horford enjoyer. I won't say a fan. I'm an enjoyer of Al Horford. I think Al Horford's a very interesting player. The way he has evolved his game has been super interesting, and he fits perfectly with this team. I love everything he can bring. Him and Draymond in the front court is going to be awesome. Some of the more athletic front courts and duos might be able to expose them a little bit, but I think Al Horford's still a vertical threat. Draymond Green's still a well, when I say Al Horford's a vertical threat, I mean a vertical defending threat, blocking shots, altering shots, deterring guys from going up with floaters, layups, that kind of stuff. And Draymond Green is still a good one-on-one defender, a good team defender, and I think they're going to talk to each other. And I think that's the biggest thing about this Warriors front line and at some points back line is that Al Horford and Draymond Green are talkers, and they're going to try to talk other people through what's happening. Is the screen coming? Is the screen not coming? Is it a cut? Is it a ghost screen? All these things, all these concepts that um, are easy to miss. And just to add to that, you have Jimmy Butler at the three. What more could you want? I mean, it's amazing. The forward depth and the center depth they have is pretty incredible. Um, and I think it's almost a miracle that they were able to get Al Horford at this point. He is in the latter stages of his career, but like I was saying, I think more athletic teams and more athletic front courts are gonna be able to expose them a little bit. But in the West, I think that's very far and few between. As we go through some of these teams, this is the first video, obviously. I might um, make an amendment to that. Might change my opinion on that. But off the top of my head, I really can't think of a lot of athletic front courts um, on a night to night basis that actively use their athleticism. Maybe the Mavericks. The Mavericks have a very athletic front court. Um, the Spurs maybe, but Wemby's just. I don't think they're gonna start Al Horford on Wemby. I think that's crazy. But you get my point. Um, Continuing on here. As for the other guys like Seth And the other like excuse me, I'm going too fast here. As for the other guys like Seth Curry, another veteran shooter is never bad. Being able to bring someone of the family in to help Steph feels make Steph feel even more secure and comfortable, and that's great. These things I think it's an underrated thing when you look at teams and you're like, wow, this team has two brothers playing together. Um, Two brothers that have been in the league a long time, and I think even Seth alluded to it. It's like he's 35 years old. If there was a chance it was going to happen, it has to be now. Um, they did play together briefly. I think Seth was in the G League, but he came up. He was on a two-way contract early on in the Warriors years when Steph wasn't even Steph Curry yet. He was still young Steph Curry. Um, so I think it's a feel-good story. Is my point here. um, Before I get to my what I think about the wins, let's look at the roster here. I like this roster a lot. We'll talk about some more guys that they're managing to bring back, or um, guys who I think are going to take a step next year. D'Anthony Melton coming back. That was theorized all season. Was like they had to get rid of D'Anthony Melton. He was on this team last year. I believe he tore his ACL or he had a knee injury or something. They had to trade him just to get off the money, and I think there was a little handshake deal like, "Hey, we'll bring you back next offseason." And they did, and they did. They hold true to their word. We'll see what he can do. He was really good in the small amount. I think he only played. It felt like he only played like 15 or 20 games for this team last year. Um, no, he played six. Damn, it felt like he played a lot more. But yeah, so like 6 games. So he's back. Gabe Payne the second's back, like we talked about Seth Curry. Um, let's see here. Buddy Hield's back. We'll see if he can repeat some of the magic he had in the playoffs. Brandon Podzimski's back and healthy. He played in that preseason game. Guy Santos is here. Um, Moses Moody, who I'm a big fan of. I like Moses Moody a lot. Um, Arkansas alumni, Arkansas alumni. And the big thing I want to talk about here is what real benefit Al Horford brings. It's that the Warriors have a veteran center, a guy who they've been lacking for the last couple years. I think this Warrior team thrives when they have guys who are smart players, who are big. Al Horford isn't tall, but he's stout. He's a smart player. He has a good wingspan, so he is a taller player. When Al Horford on this team reminds me of when they had like an older Boogie Cousins, when they had Andrew Bogut, when they had Festus Ezeli, when they had who else was on this team? I think that those are the only real bigs that are notable to me that I really liked, and they were smart, heady, um, really really good bigs. And Al Horford's going to bring that, but he also is the real safety valve for what was last year's horrendous center depth who I genuinely liked at times, but other times they just looked terrible. Trace Jackson Davis wasn't ready to be a starter. Quentin Post wasn't ready. They might be able to play alongside Al Horford, and Al Horford can cover up some of their um, younger mistakes. Trace Jackson Davis heading into his second year. Quentin Post heading into his second year. Um, or his second year. It's all a matter of time for those guys to figure it out. But I think for now, Al Horford was the good thing to pick up, and he wanted to come here, which is the most important thing as well. Um, let's talk about the wins. Again, they're projected to win 45 games. That's from BetMGM Sportsbook. Um, I think 45 wins for this team is the ceiling. This is right about where they'll be. Um, Seems like if everything can go according to plan, maybe 1 or 2 games, but nothing major. Not like a huge jump to 50 wins. This isn't a 50-win team. If they are, then hey, I don't know. Um, but health and guys learning the system quickly is going to be paramount. I don't think when I say this, guys learning the system, it's not a dig at anybody. It's just it sometimes it takes a minute for guys to adjust to. Oh, I'm this wide open. Oh, Al Horford's Draymond Green's kicking out. Al Horford's gonna kick it out. Oh, Draymond's gonna throw a lob to Al Horford. Al Horford's gonna throw a lob to Draymond. Like it's these niche little things that usually take about 10 or 20 games for players to figure out when they start playing with the Warriors. Um, I don't think there's anybody here who is unfamiliar with the system except Al Horford. I mean, D'Anthony Melton was here last year, knows the system. Seth Curry is just a shooter, so he's gonna thrive here no matter what. And I think that's really it. And um, yeah, just learning the system is going to be paramount. And we'll see. The other thing I just remembered of note, this is the last year of Steve Kerr's contract, and he said he is not seeking a new contract at this moment, and he's going to let the season play out, and then we're going to see what happens. Um, and also, I want to put this in at the end here. This could be the somewhat final ride for this core, for this group of Draymond and Steph, or this duo, I should say, Draymond, Steph, and Steve Kerr. Um, if it is the end, I think this is a good team to go out on. It isn't a sorry team. It isn't a bad team. I think they're going to try to make the most of what they have, and I think that's when the Warriors thrive. That's how they won their last championship in 2021, 2022. Before that was the super team. We won't, that's a completely different set of circumstances, but I think this is the sort of team that kind of could sneak in there. I'm not saying they're going to win the championship again, but this is the sort of team that reminds me of that other team where it's like, okay, there's a bunch of guys. They kind of fit together. They're gonna make it work. If they can stay healthy, it's gonna be fine. Enough rambling about my team here. We need to get through these a little quicker. I thought there was gonna be a shorter video. It apparently is not going to be. Moving on. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention top of your screen, top middle. Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Steph Curry. In case you know, now you know. In case you don't know, now you know. Moving on here. Bottom left, bottom left, bottom right, pardon me, bottom right. The Los Angeles Lakers. I have a lot of thoughts about this Laker team. Um, they are projected to win 47 games this season, which is interesting, and we'll get to that later. Um, the Lakers have a lot to prove this season. Is Luka really in shape? Is LeBron James equipped enough to be a 1B, not 1A, which he has been his whole career essentially, be 1B to Luka Doncic? Can Ayton return to form um, as he was many years ago when him and the Suns went to the finals? Is Marcus Smart really the answer off the bench, or even starting at times? Um, to answer the few of these, I think Luka is in shape despite some of the rumors that he is the equal weight or even heavier. There was like a somebody got a hold of the official like training camp day roster, and it has everybody's name, height, weight, and Luca's weight was still the same. I don't know if that was true. I don't know if that was altered or doctored in any way just to make Luca look bad. But I think visually he is skinnier. It's just really at this point it's just about how he carries the weight um, that matters to me. And I think a lot of his game is predicated on him being a bigger guard. By bigger, I mean taller and wider, to be kind to him. Um, I think how do I say this? I think some of his game is going to have to change if he is indeed slimmer, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I think this team has enough pieces, enough guys, and the team is going to be centered around him for the next 5, 10 years, where he can lose some of the weight. He can keep if he can keep the weight off, and he can do all that stuff and just stay healthy, man. It's important to keep that weight off you as you get older into your career because it starts weighing on your knees, your ankles, and this game is played at such a pace now where you can't afford that kind of stuff. Um, let's see here. What else do I have? Um, is LBJ LeBron James okay being 1B? I think so. A full off season to get to know each other. Him and Luca. Obviously, Luca's 1A, the much younger superstar. LeBron James, the much older superstar. Um, they are both super high IQ. I think they're going to be just fine. And I think it's up to Coach JJ Redick, bottom right of your screen, to put the ball in Luca's hands. And really tell. I don't think he'll tell LeBron James this, but hey, like You don't got to do everything. Let Luka do his thing. Let Luka do his thing. This is his team. This is his city essentially. He's the LA. He's the king of LA. I think he's probably one of the most popular players in LA. Probably one of the most popular figures in LA. Next to like what's his name? Shohei Otani. Yeah, guys like that. So he's up there. Um, I think this is really gonna fall on JJ Redick more than anything. I don't think Luca's a fan of LeBron, so I don't think Luca's gonna be like, "Hey, LeBron, it's my team." He's never gonna say that. I think in throughout the course of the season, Luca's gonna have to prove to LeBron, quote unquote, that hey, this is my team. I'm doing my thing now. It's not your team. Respectfully, of course, respectfully. Um, and it's gonna be important for Coach JJ Redick to put the ball in Luca's hands in crunch time because Luca's one of the best crunch time guys, and LeBron James has a history of being a good crunch time guy, but not uh, that shouldn't be on his shoulders. LeBron should be able to coast through the regular season, show up some games, like really show vintage LeBron stuff some games, and other games it's Luka going through the motions. And Luka going through the motions is like a 30-point game with 8 assists, 8 rebounds, and like only 2 turnovers. Like that's a standard Luka game. That can probably win you a lot of games in the West. Um, Continuing on here, my other question, the other questions that me and a bunch of other people have is can DeAndre and their new center return to form? I think in some capacity. I think either Lakers fans are going to love DeAndre and or they're absolutely going to hate him because his motor can run low and he's not always engaged. And I think um, JJ Redick, actually, I know for a fact JJ Redick hates that because JJ Redick is a very cerebral guy. He's a very an emotional guy as well. And if DeAndre isn't gonna like lock in, isn't gonna pay attention, JJ Redick will actually like kick his ass. Because JJ is such a psycho, and he's like, if you aren't paying attention, why the hell are you here? Da 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 da. There's gonna be one JJ Redick crash out clip this season, at least one, where he just like throws the clipboard on DeAndre and like DeAndre not paying attention, like some stupid stuff going on. Again, I think his engagement game to game is hit or miss. With what's going on, I think him fitting with Luka and LeBron is great. Those two guys make regular centers look like all stars. They both have done it throughout their careers. I think that's the most positive thing about this is DeAndre just gets to benefit from two of the most um, cerebral guys to play basketball, and both guys like to pass the ball. Um, I don't think. Let me see here. The real question is, or like the other question I have, the other sub question I have to this is if DeAndre Ayton can be more than just a lob threat and a rebound guy. Maybe make some of his own offense at times. I think I even said that when when he signed there. I was like, he needs to be at times. He's going to have the opportunities, and he's going to have to take advantage of the opportunities to make his own offense. Because he DeAndre Ayton has a unique ability of like he can play within the mid range. He has a good face up game. He has a good post up game. When the matchup favors him, he looks incredible. It's the other times where the matchup doesn't favor him and he's throwing up these stupid shots, and you're like, "What the hell are you doing, man?" That's something he's gonna have to learn as well throughout the course of the season and with this system. Um, Lastly, um, Marcus Smart, who I feel like hasn't been talked about all off season since he signed there. Marcus Smart, former God, this sounds so crazy. Former Defensive Player of the Year, Marcus Smart. Wow, yeah, that's been a long time since I said that. Um, and my this I wrote this down. It says, is old Marcus Smart even worth a roster spot? I think at small moments he could be okay, but overall he hasn't been healthy in years. Literally, I don't. I'm gonna look at it in a second when I look at the roster. Um, he hasn't been healthy in years. His explosiveness is gone. His three was always questionable, and again, I think this falls on JJ to put him in spots to succeed. Um, I think that's really it. Um, Marcus Smart's an interesting piece on this team because if he's like any version of Marcus Smart pre like getting traded to the Grizzlies. That was like 4 years ago at this point. Four? Yeah. Oh no, three, 3 years. Damn, it feels like it's been forever. It's been like 3 years since he was on the Grizzlies, and the Grizzlies thought he was going to be something. He just never played for them. Then he got traded to the Wizards, and he was just. I don't think he ever played for the Wizards. I don't think. But if they get any version of Celtics Marcus Smart, this team is going to be interesting. Super, super interesting. Um, Other guys like LeBron James Jr., Bronny, Austin Reeves, Jake LaRavia are going to be in spots to show what they can do. We already know what Austin Reeves can do. As I was saying there, I got interrupted. We already know what Austin Reeves can do. He's in a contract year, so it's going to be interesting to see what he can do. He doesn't seem too worried about it. I could see him and Luka being. Well, Luka's obviously going to be here in a Lakers jersey for a long time. I think Austin Reeves could be here for a long time. I think he's benefited from playing with LeBron James, playing with Anthony Davis, being on this team, working his way up from like a nobody to a bench player to a six man to a starter. It's an incredible story. But other guys, LeBron James Jr., Jake LaRavia, are going to be able to prove themselves even more. Jake LaRavia, an offseason acquisition as well. Um, let's see here. Who else do they have on this team? We'll go through the roster a little bit. Let's see. Let me read off some names here. DeAndre Ayton, Marcus Smart, Luca, Jackson Hayes. Jackson Hayes looked really good in that preseason game. They played the Warriors, so it was him versus Al Horford. Jackson Hayes looked really good. Jake LaRavia. Um, I don't. I'm either gonna sound like a genius or I'm gonna sound like an idiot in about 2 months. I don't get the big deal about Jake LaRavia. Everybody's raving about Jake LaRavia, no pun intended. Um, and what he's gonna bring to this Lakers team and like all this stuff. I just don't get it. I know who Jake LaRavia is. I watched him on the Grizzlies a few times when they played the Warriors. Let me just double check. This is the same Jake LaRavia I'm thinking of. Yeah, he played. Yeah, he played in Memphis. Oh yeah, because he was on Sacramento last year. And Sacramento, nobody watched Sacramento last year. Yeah, so I watched him when he was with Memphis, and I just never saw anything like incredibly special from Jake LaRavia. So maybe I'm just not up on my Jake LaRavia stuff, or like maybe I'm right. I don't know. The Jameses, Bronny, and LeBron don't connect. Still here for some reason. I think he might be gone. I don't know. Maybe he can get something. Jared Vanderbilt. I am not the biggest Jared Vanderbilt fan. I think Jared Vanderbilt has such an interesting game and is such a good defender. But man, can you just stay healthy? They were saying yes. They were saying the other night he's been on this Lakers team for 4 years already. 4 years, 3 years. He's going into his fourth year with this team. And when I heard that, I was like, "There's no way he's been on this team for 4 years." And he has. He just hasn't been healthy. He's he's played 91 games, and then when he was with the Minnesota Timberwolves, same amount of time, 3 years, he played 140 games. This man cannot stay healthy. Um, so yeah, just stay healthy. That's all he needs to do is stay healthy, and then he can be a huge contributor. Gabe Vincent, TBD. He looked okay in the preseason game. I'm not gonna put too much stock into it. Austin Reeves, I talked about. Rui Hachimura. I'm a big Rui Hachimura fan. I think he's gonna do enough to just keep his roster spot, keep his starting, or yeah, I should say, keep his starting spot. You have Maxi Kleba, who TBD. I don't know what version of Maxi Kleba they're getting, but he's familiar with Luca, so that's a plus. He knows what Luca likes to do. Luca knows where he likes the ball. All that sweet stuff. Um, yeah, this is now that I'm looking at this is a very forward heavy team, and JJ Redick's gonna have a lot of opportunity to run a lot of big lineups. Because you got Kleber, Rui, Vanderbilt, LeBron, Jake LaRavia, Jackson Hayes. Um, yeah, you're gonna have a lot of opportunity to run some big lineups. And we'll see what he can do. Maybe we'll see what he can whip out. Um, let's circle back to the wins here. 47 wins. Seems right around the ballpark. Um, where they should be. Maybe a little bit lower. Maybe like a game higher. I don't think this is a 50-win team. Maybe if JJ Redick really has them ready to play, at the beginning of the year and they can get the jump on some guys, some other teams, but I don't know. I don't think it's a 50-win team. Maybe I'll change my mind once we get through the other teams, but I don't see a 50-win team here. Um, let's move. I guess you used to be able to say like across the street or across the hallway, but I guess like a couple streets over from the Crypto.com arena where the Lakers play to the Intuit Dome where the Clippers play. So yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. There's a lot of stuff to unpack with this Clippers team. About the off the court stuff, the Kawhi Leonard, no show job, Steve Ballmer maybe or maybe not being involved in some Ponzi scheme to pay Kawhi Leonard below the table, so they have to pay the luxury tax. Um, I don't really want to talk about that in this video. The story's kind of died down, but I think that's because the NBA is doing their investigation, and maybe we'll have a resolution. From what I've heard, they probably won't have a resolution until All Star break, so this team's gonna be walking on eggshells for the first half of the season. But that being said, I do just want to stick to the on the court stuff because I think the on the court stuff is very interesting. This team is very old, like really old, but I do love what they did with this roster um, as a whole. I'm not the biggest Bradley Beal fan. I don't think he's a perfect fit, but I think everything else on this team works. I like everyone they brought in, including the return of Chris Paul. For what could be his final year, it is to be determined, um, or maybe should I say to be announced if this is Chris Paul's last year. Um, let's see what else do we have here. The key for this team is to get off to a great start. Nothing else matters. You don't want to be fighting after All Star break for a good spot in the playoffs. They got a bad deal last year with their seeding, so I think it's super important. Um, not, I think it's super important. Um, let me see. Wait. They got a bad deal last year with their seeding, so I think it's super important for them to start off really well. I know there's a lot of new pieces, there's a lot of new faces, but the core of James Harden and James Harden and Kawhi Leonard, and then some Ivica Zubac is still there. The main three are still there, and they still are going to play good basketball. Zubac played some of the best basketball of his life last year. James Harden sort of returned to form at some point, still didn't show up in the playoffs, but he returned to form somewhat in the regular season. And you have Kawhi Leonard, who might play a lot of games, probably won't, but you can hope. A man can dream. Um, um, it's also super important for their health, for them to get a good seed as an older team. But what they could do, if they do get good positioning as a team with loads of experience, um, what I'm trying to get at here is if you start off hot, if you have good seeding going into All Star break, you could start projecting for players on this team, older players on this team, to miss games. For rest. James Harden, Kawhi Leonard. These are the important things. And I think the Clippers are going to be under the microscope. I think it's going to be very hard for them to rest players, quote unquote. I mean, you could say James Harden has like he tweaked his foot or something. He's out for one game. This and that. You can make up some excuse, but I think it is important for these guys to get some rest. James Harden bottom left, Kawhi Leonard bottom left as well. Um, I think it's super important for this team, and I hate to say it because it happens every year. Um, am I falling for the Clippers again? Am I falling for their nonsense again? I feel like almost every other year, every year, like a few of us just fall for the Clippers again. Like, oh yeah, look at they got a nice team, da 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 da. I didn't believe it when they had Paul George on the team. I didn't really buy it then, even though they had some good runs in there. Um, I don't really believe it when you have James Harden, Kawhi Leonard either, but I do like. We're gonna go through the roster here in a second. Um, I do like a lot of their pieces. Let's go through said roster then. Um, I'm smiling when I'm looking at this team because I actually like this team a lot. Um, Let's run through some guys here. Nicholas Batum, Patrick Baldwin Jr., former Warrior, Wisconsin native. Shout out Patrick Baldwin Jr. uh, Chris Paul, Bradley Beal, James Harden, John Collins, Brooke Lopez, Ivica Zubac, Chris Dunn, Derek Jones Jr., Cam Christie, brother of the other Christie, Kawhi Leonard, Kobe Brown, Bogdan Bogdanovich. Um, really, I really like this team. I think this is a really good team for um, Coach Teron Lu to coach. I think it's a um, spectacular team almost. I think there are a lot of opportunities for him to switch up the lineup. You have a guy to back up another guy to back up another guy if somebody's having a bad night, and I think that's what this team needs is just being able to throw something at the wall and see if it sticks. Um, there's a lot of bench depth here, and I really like it. Um, did I say they were projected to win 48 games? They're projected to win 48 games, by the way. I'm not sure I mentioned that. I'm sorry if I didn't. At the top, 48 games. Um, I think 48 seems a little ridiculous to me. I know they have a lot of talent. I just gushed over them. Um, but I think somewhere around 45 is a bit more realistic. I think you set your goal on 45, and if you can get there in a reasonable amount of time, like if you can get to 45 and there's maybe like a month left in the season or like a month and a half left in the season, then you come around and you say, well, let's try to get to 50 then. We're already halfway there. We have 5 more games to go, and we have maybe 10 games left, 15 games left. We just need to win 5 more, we get 50 wins. And I think the West is going to be very top heavy. I think a lot of these teams are going to win. A lot of these really good teams are going to win a lot of games. We haven't this whole section. We're not talking about teams that are like the best teams in the West. We're talking about teams that like around the middle, maybe play in sort of teams, and um, maybe the Clippers have a chance again if they start off hot to do something special. And I feel like such a clown saying that because the Clippers always let me down. They always let everybody down. They let their fans down. But man, they might be able to do it. Let's just shoot for 45. I would say 45. Let's not even think about 48 or 50. Just get to 45 and then we'll see. Um, I do want to touch on the fact that Bradley Beal has never been a supreme role player. He's always had the ball in his hands. That's when he's at his best. And I don't think that's going to change. I think it's going to be something that I think at some point in the season, maybe Chris Paul gets in his face and say, "Hey, Brad, calm down. You're just a role player now. You're not that guy in Washington. You weren't that guy in Phoenix. You're not going to be the guy here. You just need to play your role." Um, and maybe that's what he needs. I think Chris Paul is one of those only psychos really that could talk to Bradley Beal like that and be like, "Hey, you ain't done anything in this league. Be a role player. We're gonna do something special." And Chris Paul's only been to one finals, but he's been around. He knows what he needs to do. Chris Paul has transformed into an amazing role player and an amazing mentor for younger teams. Now he's back on an older team, but I still think he can check a guy like Bradley Beal, who's only in year 13, versus Chris Paul, who's in year 20, and has been able to stick around this long. Um, Moving on here to the last two teams. We're going to run through these last two a little bit quicker. Um, just so this video isn't uber long, but it's gonna be long anyway. Let's talk about the Phoenix Suns. Um, this team interests me for a few reasons. They are young. They have some kind of identity around Devin Booker. Like Devin Booker's the guy, and then you have everybody else around him. Nobody else is even near Devin Booker on this team. He is the franchise. He is the guy. He is going to dictate whether this ship completely sinks or maybe can float around a little bit in the West. Um, their pieces work. All the pieces work together. I like their roster a lot. Um, I like their center depth. I like Brooke or Dylan Brooks. I like some of their guards. They have a young, enthusiastic rookie head coach, um, and I think it's gonna work. I genuinely have hope that it's gonna work. Either it's gonna work or it's gonna blow up, and it's gonna blow up in a spectacular fashion, and we're gonna be talking about Devin Booker trade rumors by All Star break. There's no in between. I unless there's a clear cut direction that hey, we're going to be bad this year, and that's going to be the direction. And Devin Booker probably is going to play the second half of the season, and we're going to tank a lot of games just to get another asset in here, another draft pick in here. Maybe that's the goal. But I think you should go for it whenever you have a guy like Devin Booker. I know a lot of people are wishy washy on Devin. He's taken a lot of heat the last couple of years. I think he's great. Um, However, a guy who I don't think is great is Jalen Green, who they acquired in the Kevin Durant trade. I'm not the biggest Jalen Green fan if you've been around this channel for any length of time. I think he's just a sort of just scoring guy who doesn't really do much else, and when he isn't scoring, he's just out there. And that's the worst kind of player, in my opinion. With that being said, um, I think he's definitely gonna have some moments this year. This is gonna be his first chance in the NBA to have nights where he's just unconscious, like truly unconscious as a starter, um, as possibly the guy for a night or two where he's just going off. And he's going to have really high scoring games. He's going to have really high highs and he's going to have really low lows. Um, he's going to look unreal at times. That's just a matter of the fact of what Jalen Green is. Another guy from that G League Ignite experiment that the NBA tried to do. Um, Let me see if I got that right though. Yeah, I think he was G League Ignite. Yeah, he was G League Ignite experiment along with Jonathan Kaminga. Those guys don't have the greatest track record in my book, and I'm not the biggest believer in anybody from the G League Ignite experiment from the late 2000 teens to the early 2020s. Um, Neither here nor there. I just don't think the backcourt of him and Devin Booker are going to work. Um, Neither of them are a real point guard, even though I think Devin Booker has evolved his point guard skills and his ball handling and his distributing. I don't think that's Devin Booker's thing. I don't think that should be his thing later in his career. I think he needs to be a scorer. He needs to be a defender. He needs to be a 3-and-D guy at his worst and at his best and all time at those things. Um, I think they really need to get a real point guard in here that isn't Jalen Green. But I think if Jalen Green has a good year, there's an opportunity for you to take that piece and flip him again and actually get a guard to help Devin Booker that isn't 20 something year old Jalen Green when you need to be in your prime playing with Devin Booker. Um, Now, before I get to the projected wins, they project to win 31 games this season. I want to run through this roster real quick. And for some people who do not know, this roster is a complete turnaround job. Literally, I think the only one here that was here last year is the following: Grayson Allen, Devin Booker, Nick Richards, um, Ryan Dunn, Iso Iguodaro, Royce O'Neal, um, Colin Gillespie. I think that's it really. Jared Butler might have been here last year. Yeah. So some returning faces, some guys they kept, some new names, like I alluded to, Dylan Brooks, who I think is going to be really good. I think this is my thought process. I think it should be Devin Booker and Dylan Brooks in the backcourt, and I think that would be a great backcourt. That's just my opinion, though. Who else did they bring in here? Um, um, oh, Jalen Green, and then they have a bunch of role player guys who I won't go through right now. Mark Williams returned. He was here last year. I also do like Kamal Malawach, rookie from Duke. Um, I think he showed a lot of promising things. I think he's going to be one guy that suffers from not having a real point guard to get him involved, but I think he's still going to be able to do some of the dirty work stuff um, and get some minutes, hopefully. And I hope the coach really gives him some minutes because I think he has a lot of potential. I know he's going to be playing behind guys like Nick Richards and Mark Williams. Mark Williams can't stay healthy. Nick Richards is only just okay. So maybe the kid has a chance to play some real basketball. Um, Definitely early on in the season. Maybe even late in the season if they're tanking. Um, Now back to the 31 wins. Um, I'm gonna zag here. Um, I could see them getting to 36 wins. I think 36 is doable. That's at least 30 team wins where everybody plays well, everybody pitches in. Um, and Devin Booker's doing his Devin Booker thing, as he has done in the past. That's three Jalen Green games where Jalen Green goes off, just like explodes, and that's 3 games of like a role player going off. and you get to 36, and I think that's doable. I think when you do it like that, when you think about it like that in your head, um, it's something that is completely reasonable. And I think 36 is right around where they should be. I think 31's a little disrespectful. I understand there aren't a lot of big names on this team, but I think just to get to 30 and then you get three Devin Booker games and then three or three anybody else games and then three Jalen Green games, you're up to 36. And then maybe I'm overestimating. Maybe they just get to 26, but I don't think Devin Booker's going to let it sink to 26 if or even below 30 if they're if he's healthy. And moving on to the last team here. I saved this team for last because I frankly don't want to talk about them. This is the one team throughout the course of these many videos that I've done that I don't want to talk about them because I genuinely don't like the team. I'm not going to hide the fact that I really dislike this team as a whole, from a roster standpoint, from a star standpoint. Um, DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, aren't my cup of tea. I just think they're complete. I don't even want to say overrated. I just don't think they were ever as good as anybody ever sold them to be. Like, just put them on a playoff team and they're gonna be good. They're really good players. Zach LaVine's a top five shooting guard in the NBA if he's on a good team. Well, guess what? He's never been on a good team and he's never been able to raise a team to being a good team. So that's why I don't like Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine. DeMar DeRozan's just okay. He's older now. He's in his what is this? He's in his where the hell is he? He's in his 16th year. He's not getting any better. He's just been okay for his whole career. He's an all-star level player. Is he still an all-star? I don't really think so. Um, I have no faith they will be legit contenders. Just period. I don't even think they'll be in the play-in. Their offseason was terrible. They got some nice guys, but nobody I'm in love with personally. Sabonis is one of my favorite bigs, but he has limitations. Is he going to be the guy this year? Like the guy? Uh, I don't. I don't know. Um, maybe. Um, if so, I don't like it. Um, he's better as a number two. Domantas Sabonis is when he was with De'Aaron Fox, he was a good number two. At sometimes he looked like a number one. But this team is full of number twos, like just like Robins, no Batmans, just Robins. And I think the projection they have here is 35 wins. Um, I think 35 wins is a way, 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 way overestimation of this team. Um, and I think I think something more like 28 to 30 wins is more around it. And I'm gonna read this roster to you and I'll let it speak for itself because there's no way this team I will. There's no way this team gets to 35 wins. If they get if they get over 35 wins, I will come back on here and apologize. Let's see. They got Dougie McBuckets, Doug McDermott. They got Dennis Schroeder. They got Drew Eubanks. They got Nick Clifford. They got Keegan Murray. They got Dario Saric. They got Devin Carter, who they're trying to move. They don't even want Devin Carter on the roster anymore. They got DeMar DeRozan. They got Malik Monk. They got Keon Ellis. They got Domantas Sabonis. They got Zach LaVine. I'm not in love with any of this. I mean, I, I like Keon Ellis a little bit. I like Dario Saric at times. I don't think he's a good fit on this team. Maybe he's a bit better of a fit, considering he's getting to play with Sabonis. Malik Monk's okay. Keegan Murray's is okay. He's getting a little bit worse every year. Hopefully, he can revive his career. I like Dennis Schroeder a lot. Not on this team though. Doug McDermott's gonna shoot a couple threes, maybe have a dunk or two, and that's it. Um, Not my favorite team. I think thus far throughout these videos, this is probably my least favorite team roster construction wise, and just overall as a team. I don't know what they're gonna do this season. But yeah, that's the first video of the West. Bit longer than I thought it was gonna be. I thought it was gonna be one of the shorter ones, but here we are at almost 50 minutes. So if you made it this far, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Um, we have two more videos, and then we're gonna do a final um, video where I talk about the best. We've talked through all the teams. I'm gonna put a whole list together of the teams I think are gonna be really good this year from the East and the West, and that should be coming right around the time the season's gonna start. So pay attention for that. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you guys next time. Cheers.